And at which point do you also, what signals do you get outside when you're also aware of, oh, I'm moving in the direction my soul or my purpose, or where I'm feeling it's moving in that direction? And when are you having feelings that it's not? And when are you having feelings it's moving in that direction, but this is just something I have to go through? So do you have some things that the outside, you would say, examples reflecting what your inside is truly at? And one of the sentences I love, they said, if you really think you're enlightened, go visit your family.
Yeah, yeah. Ram Dass, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ram
Yeah, I love
Dass,
that
yeah.
one.
So
I
would
love
you
that
also
one.
agree on that? Yes. Is that like your first 1 meter is an indication for if you're like miles away running a whole men's circle and healing
Hmm.
center, but you go back to your parents and you're still fighting?
Hmm.
Would you agree with that, or it's individual?
Yeah, I think I'd like to talk about that in a couple ways. There
Yeah.
is kind of like the inside indicators, and then there's the outside indicators. And for me, I've always been very sensitive, but I didn't know how to work with that sensitivity for a long time, and it felt just very uncomfortable. So a lot of my way to work with it was to disassociate or drown it or numb it and in any way possible, because it just felt like too much to feel in my body. And so one of my biggest revelations is to stop doing that and to really begin to feel in my body. And I know when I'm a yes to something, because I can feel my body expand. I can feel my heart expand. I can feel tingling going up the back of my spine. I can feel excitement in my eyes. It may not be the ultimate path or the ultimate direction, but it's something I need to explore, and it may lead me to something else. Whereas if I'm not on the right path, then I get very closed. I notice my shoulders slumping a lot. My energy is often drained. It feels like a struggle to do things. I'm, often having like stomach issues or something like that. Like just my body is not working optimally, and that usually is a sign that I need to look at what's out of alignment. Because when
Yeah.
I'm in alignment, things feel good, and I'm in the flow, and things are flowing well. And so a lot of times it's stripping off things that are no longer no longer serving me. And then so that's the kind of the internal guides that I use. And then yeah, I think there are a lot of external guides, which I see more as testing grounds. And I think there's a lot of testing grounds. I've put myself in a very deep testing ground, advanced testing ground with Amanda's children,
Oh.
especially her youngest child, who is a brilliant child, like absolutely brilliant. He started playing chess at age 6 and could beat any adult, like got bored of it because he stopped having anybody who could beat him. Like does lots of math in his head, already knows algebra, like really, really smart, creative, lots of fun, but is also very, very challenging to work with sometimes, because he owns his no very, very strongly and will fight you to the tooth, and is a testing ground for my patience, for my compassion, for my ability to not to try and meet him and hear his needs without just screaming at him to get out of my sight type of thing. So like I look at those as wonderful, wonderful tests.
Yeah,
And I think the Ram Dass quote is great too. Like, yeah, go spend dinner with your family. I don't find that one as much of a test these days because I've really come to in a good place with my family where it doesn't
yeah.
feel that challenging. But the other big one for me is driving on the highway. Like,
Oh,
like if I can stay calm driving on the highway, I know I'm in a really good place. But as soon as that person like cuts me off and then slows down,
road rage.
oh, road rage and the language that comes out of my mouth and
Yeah,
the urge to speed around him and cut him off and show him or give him the
yes.
finger just really comes out. And so I think, yeah, I think there's testing grounds that we can consciously put ourselves in, but and also consciously know when we're in that to maybe do a little bit extra breathing beforehand or ground ourselves, or do what we need to, like, okay, I'm going into a testing ground right now. Okay,
Yeah.
what do I need? Maybe I need some peaceful music on the radio. Maybe I need to just do some circle breathing before I start the car, whatever it is.
So you're identifying your testing ground. So you just know, okay, like looks like currently where I am, I'm being tested in these areas. So let's just be aware, like planning ahead.
Yeah, and watching what comes up. So being conscious of watching, oh, why is that part of me
Yeah.
really angry right now? Why, right? It's not because of them. It's not because what your dad said.
Right.
It's because of something inside of you that's wounded. There's a wounded part of you,
Yeah.
or there's a protective part of you that's protecting that wounded part of you.
Right.
And so that's what needs to be, that's the gold from those testing grounds, is if you can consciously see what is coming up. It's a beautiful, beautiful practice. It's just really hard to do in the moment when he's saying whatever he's saying and you are triggered and your face is flush and you don't know what to do. But exactly. But if you
Yes.
can remember to walk away and breathe and then talk to that part, um, you know, uh, it's a process of just breathing more space around your triggers and learning that when you're triggered is not the time to defend or react, because that never
Yeah.
goes well.
Right. So if you can find, like like I love Kabbalah, and in that one of the
Mm,
um, tools they have, it's like pause, what a pleasure, breathe, and then ask, why is this in my movie? And I've
mm,
always loved that. I have that like written up, pause, what a pleasure. Even just say, this is amazing, breathe. Why is this here? It might come then, but just if you can pause before the reaction, that's probably, then you can be proactive instead of reactive.
yeah,
I love practicing
and
that.
it's not easy. And I run into people who just say, oh, I can't do it. I've tried and I can't do it. And yes, just like everybody else, it just takes practice, and you try it 100 times, and then you get it right once, and it feels amazing, and then you can't do it again for another 100 times, and then you just keep at it, and eventually you start to create more space, and it
Yes,
starts to rewire that pattern of,
right.
okay, I'm triggered, I shouldn't say anything, let me step away.
Yes,
Amanda and I have a protocol that if we're both triggered, we take space,
yes.
and then sometimes we come back and we wrestle each other if we're in an argument before we try and talk to each other. So we'll do a little tantric wrestling and
Yeah, yeah,
and really just move that energy, and then what's true can come through, and it's usually a hurt.
yeah,
What wants to come through is the protector, the anger. You did this, you did this, you did this. And when you move that energy, what wants to come through is, oh, when you said that, it really hurt.
mm.
I was really hurt. And that's the important part.
Like some women said, I've done all this work and I've attracted another guy who seems to be still wounded from offering him all his safe space. And I feel like when I show my vulnerability, it's either he doesn't know how to deal with it, but he's usually ending up using my vulnerability to bring me down because I'm maybe appearing more powerful. And what do you say to that?
Yeah, that's difficult. What Eckhart Tolle says is that it only takes one person to have a spiritual practice, meaning that our partners are not required to be on that spiritual path with us.
Right.
And when you're in that type of situation, you are in a training ground. And so there's certain things, depending on what the situation is, that you are being called to learn.
Right.
And one of them may be to learn how to hold your boundaries in love and see when you're being diminished and say, no, I will not be diminished. I am in my power. And hold that strong. And maybe that is the lesson there. And the other thing that Eckhart Tolle says is that if I'm going to paraphrase this badly, but something about when two partners, when one is in pure consciousness, is in awareness of the now, and is in this practice, the other one cannot stand being in that light because it is reflecting all of their shadow.
Yeah.
So if you don't succumb to coming down to their level and fighting at their level, and you stay grounded in your practice, they are going to either leave because they can't stand it anymore, or they're going to start to come up to your level. Either way, your practice is the same.
Exactly.
Is to stay at this level, find out what the lessons are. It's a difficult training ground. Relationships are sometimes often most challenging training grounds. And a lot of the lessons are, what are my boundaries, and how do I powerfully hold them in kindness?
Yes.
In kindness. Like, hey, you do what you want, but these are my boundaries.
Right.
And I'm not going to allow you to cross them.
Right.
And if it's a continual, habitual crossing the boundaries after that has been established, then it may be, okay, you are not respecting my boundaries. So now we need to separate, because this is not, you're obviously not respecting me or my boundaries. And I need somebody who does that because I'm powerful.
Yes. Nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
I have another very interesting question, and it's also this time from a gentleman. And I'm just going to bring it up here. So he asks, would you lie for the sake of your partner's happiness? And how do you define the line?
I would say in the past, I have many times lied for the sake of my partner's happiness. And what I found was it eroded the connection that we had between us. So my commitment lately has been to really commit to radical honesty.
Yeah.
So I had a conversation 2 nights ago where I admitted to my partner that I had feelings for a friend of hers. And that was not an easy thing to talk about. It was not an easy thing for her to hear, but she already felt it.
Exactly.
And this is something men don't understand, how much women already know and how much they already feel. And so you think you're lying, and they may not know the words
Yeah.
to what's going on, but they know something is there. And so if you're going to lie, you're eroding that connection. You're creating a chasm between the two of you that is going to be hard to overcome. And once you establish that pattern, if you lie more and more and more, you're just creating a huge separation. And until you rectify that, which is tell the truth, you're never going to be able to feel the fullness of her heart,
Yeah.
which is the beautiful feminine gift. And that to me is not worth it.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely know that many women, or me personally, I'll even know it before it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Before even the man knows he's going to do it, I'm like, oh, it's going in that direction. Let's watch that.
Intuition is real, man. Intuition is real. Do
And
not
then it's like going in
doubt
there,
it.
it's kind of happening, and I'm watching it, and then I'm asking like semi questions, and it's like all this dodging, and you can feel it again and again, and at some point you're right, intuition is
Because
real.
it erodes trust.
Exactly.
And when you don't trust, you're going to be giving less. You're going to be withholding some because you're like, I don't trust this person anymore. And now the man can feel the withholding. And they're like, why is bitch not giving everything she wants? She doesn't know about the lies. And and then it just creates a spiral until it's rectified. So I think it's absolutely essential to be 100% honest, and I think it's a difficult thing to do. It's not an easy practice, but when you can find somebody who can receive your honesty, and you have the ability to be honest and take what's coming with that honesty. She may have some rage to around what you reveal. She may have some grief, but I guarantee in most cases she's going to be relieved that you were honest and that what she felt was not wrong, that she's not crazy.
Yes. The next thing is, have you ever changed anything? Maybe it's similar, but it's a bit different. Have you ever changed anything about yourself for your partner? And maybe we would, in your case, saying, would you? Have you? Would you?
I feel I'm constantly changing myself because I feel that we are, well, it's tricky what we're talking about, self, right? I think there is a self within us, a deep inner self that is unchanging.
Yeah.
And on top of that self, in this material world, we get wounds and patterns and emotions and we create patterns of being that are out of alignment with ourselves. They're there to keep us safe. They're there to get our needs met. And we don't really think about them. And so a lot of my work is changing those patterns, but not changing myself. It's more about getting in touch with myself and in love with myself, and also loving my patterns, but slowly allowing them, giving myself space around those patterns. So I have the ability to choose, where I feel more sovereign and I'm not being programmed, or I'm not running a program that was initiated early on when my mom took away the toy or smacked me across the face or whatever it was. Right. So it is about change. It's about rewriting and reprogramming those patterns, but it's also about getting deeper to the unchanging self within. And in terms of a partner, I am in the firm belief of not coaching my partner. and not trying to say, hey, here's all your problems. Here's what you need to fix.
Mm.
More, I am in the view that my my gift and my role in relationship is to be as consciously present as I can. And in my conscious presence, I can see her realize, it's like the Eckhart Tolle, what he says about when someone is in their conscious presence, someone's not. When I'm fully embodied in my masculine and my conscious presence, and I'm just holding space for my beloved, she has the ability to see, oh, I'm just running a pattern. This is an old story. I realize that now, because I'm just loving her, I'm witnessing her. If I tried to change her, if I tried to fix her, she's going to get defensive. She's going to, the part of her that is, has been trying to change, be changed by men for so long, and the generational, the all of the ways that women have been subjugated and changed and held down is going to come through. And then that is going to be a fight of like, how dare you tell me, or whatever. Whereas if I can just consciously witness her and be the light and sometimes offer some reflections or guidance, and occasionally I will see something that she's not seeing, and I might ask, are you open to some advice? Are you open to some reflection? But I try and keep those to a minimum, because I know she does her work, because she has women's group, she runs women's group, she's a tantric priestess, and she does quite a bit of this work. So I have faith that eventually, through conscious presence, that she's going to, the light of conscious presence shines on all of these things. So if you have a partner who is not doing the work, I would say is a little different thing. And still, I would say not to advise them, but I would try and lead them into some sort of work. Like, hey, I heard about this women's group that is doing some really cool things, and sounded like it'd be right up your alley. Would you be interested in that? Or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. So some way of kind of guiding them without fixing them, I find is a better way. Because when we try and, every guy knows the example of when the woman is sharing something painful, and he's like, oh, well, here's what you need to do. And she's like, no, I just want to be heard.
Don't fix me.
Don't fix me.
Just hold me and give me a hug, and I've got it anyway, everything figured out. I just need some space.
Yeah.
Okay. And the same person asks about his partner. Do you like, and maybe we will rephrase it, do you like spending time with your partner's friends? And I guess it's more about how important is it to spend time with your partner's friends if they're not resonating? What do you think about that?
I tend to value my time, my personal time, because I do so much and I know what I need to nourish me. And so I enjoy spending time with my partner's friends if I align with them.
Yeah.
If I don't align with them, I have no problem of saying, like, being polite, meeting with them, and then being like, you know what, I have some things to do. I'm going to take my leave now. I really hope you guys enjoy your time together. That feels good to me, because otherwise what happens is a lot of men feel obligated because they have people pleasers. And so they want to please their partner, and their partner wants everybody to hang out. And so now they're hanging out with their partner and this person they really don't like, and they start to become resentful. They become resentful of the partner for making them hang out. They resentful of this friend, like why are they over here again? And this resentment builds, and a lot of times it's unconscious, and a lot of times it's going to come out later when they're, I don't know, like she asks him to do the dishes and he's like, well, you made me hang out with your friend all day, you know. And it's just going to come out, it's going to come out sideways. And so it's very important for us to take responsibility for doing things that are in alignment with us. And if we do something, to not be resentful to the other people, because nobody made us do it. We are sovereign human beings and we get to
Right.
choose.
Right.
So if you've got a people pleaser in you that is making you do things that you resent, that's what you need to look at.
Right.
Not the fact that your friend has people you don't like. It's you need to look at your people pleaser and why can't you create better boundaries?
Right. When you say that, I'm also tapping into and feeling we seem to have an evolvement in what relationships mean and they are. There appears to be more and more people when they meet, it's like, let's talk about the agreement. People saying, yes, I had this turbulent start with my partner. We're obviously triggering each other's wounds, but we've sat down and we've talked about it instead of just breaking up and moving on to the next partner. Okay, can we work? These are my, like, that's all new that I'm learning this. Like you talk about, okay, these are my attachment styles. And these are my traumas. Can we make each other feel safe? Do we, how would it go? And then there's actually a contract. Like a friend of mine, she's like, he signed off, okay, I won't leave. If I leave, I'm going to give you 1 month notice.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just not going to disappear. I'm not going to ghost you. Because like men, sometimes they just cut off and they go to the cave, and he has to give a 1 month advance notice before he's going to go and do that. And I found that very interesting. I feel that more and more these new connections coming, that there's more radical honesty, there is more play with it. Okay, so this is what we are, or this is what we are.
Yeah.
Whole...
Yeah. I'm a big believer in containers and agreements.
Yes.
And I feel a lot of problems that come out of relationships come from mismatched expectations.
Yes.
Right. So, or unsaid expectations. So one person is coming in, I'm going to be the man. So obviously the woman is going to do all the cleaning and and the woman's coming in going, I'm an empowered woman. So he's going to be helping out with all these things. And then all of a sudden there's fights about everything that needs to be done. Right. And I think, and so containers and agreements really allow us to create something where we are talking about our expectations and we're really agreeing on what those expectations are. And that container can be for as small or as long as you like. Like currently, my partner and I, we were not in a container because we were letting go of what we had before. We hadn't quite created something new. We decided to dive into a deep Tantra workshop together that's coming up in 3 weeks. So we created a container around this workshop where we're monogamous with each other. We're going to be doing practice with each other. We really want to support going deep with each other during this workshop and hold each other coming out of the workshop. And so we took a document and wrote down our agreements around this container. What is in the container? What is out of the container? What are our intentions for this container? And I think that is very valuable, no matter how big your container is. And I'm a big proponent of not doing really long containers. Do a 2-year container with somebody with the ability to check in and see, in 2 years, do we still want to be together, or 1-year container, or whatever it is? Should we renegotiate? Are the agreements working? Do we need to renegotiate the agreements? Do we want to step into the same container? Is it not working? Should we separate in love? But at least you have these agreements and there's nothing that is, there's no unsaid expectations. And if
Yeah.
if an unsaid expectation comes up, then what you do is you go back to the agreement,
Right.
contract, and you say, okay, well, what's our agreement around this? Let's add this in so that there's no confusion.
Yeah.
And it really solves a lot of arguments and gives you back energy that that before the agreements you were using to hold your ground or yell at the other person, or
Exactly.
or project your
Mm,
expectations. And
right.
so without that, you just have more space.
Yeah. 1 month, 1 year, whatever, monogamous or in this month, and they can always be negotiated or renegotiated. And I find that's what's happening more out there. And if we're open to that, it can just be so much more fun
Mhm.
life.
Yeah, yeah,
Because you're not, I don't need to now
yeah,
compromise, and it's beautiful. Yeah,
yeah,
containers and agreements. I love that.
yeah. And it allows for more trust too, because when you
Yeah.
know what the rules are
Mm.
and what um, the penalties for breaking the rules are, like when you know what the boundaries are, you can trust in that.
Right.
When it's unknown and unsaid, it's much harder to trust that. And then you get people testing on the boundaries because we
Mm.
don't know what the boundaries are. So we're testing, we're pushing, we're prodding. And when we
Right.
know what those boundaries are, we know what the rules are, we can trust in them, and we know what happens when we break them.
Right.
So, yeah.
That's what I was going a little bit deeper with, because we usually have in our culture or in our consciousness or with people, like men are looking for freedom, women are looking for love. I find that's really, from my perspective, really not true. I think that's an old myth, because it's we all want love and freedom. And these agreements, sometimes some men says, oh no, that's going to, I don't know, and maybe I want to do something, and I've had these talks. I said, do you think women don't want to have all that freedom? It's not the same anymore. It's like each one of us has our masculine and feminine freedom and love within it. So just as much as I might want to at some point break a rule in this container, I'm giving up that freedom, because there is freedom in these rules, because then there's love. Because if you can keep that container and know there's freedom in there, because then you can love wholeheartedly, it's actually very powerful.
Yeah, I think it is extremely important for men to really think about what freedom means to them. And my way of getting freedom is, one of our agreements, my partnership, is that I uh, have an agreement that I need to go away once every couple months for 3 days by myself, and just have that time by myself. Sometimes I do a psychedelic journey. Sometimes I'm just in the woods or on a writer's retreat in a cabin with no electricity, but I just need to step away. And that nourishes me, and it nourishes that freedom aspect of me. And I think a lot of men look at it very simply of like, I need more freedom, because they don't know how to get that for themselves without running from a relationship. And so there's a lot of work they can do to investigate and define how can they nourish themselves in freedom and get the love that they want. Like you said, they have an inner feminine that is yearning to be loved, to be held, to be heard, to be taken care of. Like, there's all of that is in all of us. And so, because I think in men the yearning for freedom feels stronger, there is this disorganized attachment where they feel that love that they've been yearning for, and it feels so good, and they're like, oh fuck, now I don't have my freedom, so now I gotta
I gotta run, get my
I
freedom,
gotta
and
run and get my freedom.
it
And it
doesn't make any sense.
doesn't make any sense, and it doesn't have to be that way. Like, you need to
Exactly.
figure out how to get your freedom in
Right.
small amounts. Maybe it is taking a sailboat for a few days. Maybe it's
Right.
going to a beach by yourself. Maybe it's being in the woods. But I guarantee you, a few days in nature by yourself, no cell phone, no computer, you're going to feel free. There's also meditations you can do as well. I teach some of those to my men in terms of feeling the burden and then feeling the freedom. That can be helpful, but it's really about getting out by yourself and really getting away from those electronics as well, and just being in nature. And you'll be amazed at how much time slows down when you turn off those electronics and you just listen to the sounds of nature moving slowly. It is very nourishing. It feels like you can get, it's like a 2 week vacation in 3 days if you're by yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, David. I
Yeah.
have some more questions, but I'm going to keep them for next time. Just
Okay.
really thank you for your time, your wisdom. I'm looking forward to us connecting again and sharing
Yeah.
some more helpful insights. It's been really, really powerful.
Yeah. I really appreciate these talks. It's really enjoyable and I'm looking forward to the next one.